Hello YouTube, this is Wally Garneau, aka the Daily Libertarian. Many of my followers have told me I should try to expand my reach by utilizing videos, so I thought I'd try that format today. This is in no way a replacement for my blog. The Daily Libertarian will continue. I'll also continue to be published on Global Liberty Media, so if you like those formats, you can continue to reach out to me to see my content there. But I did think it was time to expand my reach, so this is my first attempt at a YouTube video. If you like the content in video format, give me a like, let me know. If you don't like my content, feel free to make a comment. Whatever the case, give me a comment, give me a like, let me know what you think below. Uh, Today's topic is that Michigan wants a divorce. California, New York, sorry, we've tried to be the same country for a long time now. It's never really worked out. It's not you, it's us. Actually, it's you, but that's beside the point. The point is that Michigan, California, New York, many states, in fact, have very different ideas for how this nation should be run. And this country is actually set up to allow for those differences. There have always been fundamental differences between how the states view the relationship between the individual and society at large. That hasn't changed. The specific differences in many cases have, but we still have very different ideas for what the relationship is between the individual and society. Most Americans, at least when I was a kid, probably still today, believe that the individual is kind of the center of the universe and that the society as a whole exists to support the individual, to support all individuals, to support the natural rights of all individuals, and act kind of as a mediator to prevent us from interfering with the individual rights of each other. But we should be left free to live our lives however we see fit as long as we're allowing other people to do the same. Many people today seem to think that society should be the centerpiece rather than the individual. Whether it's Hillary Clinton saying it takes a village to raise a child, or however you look at it. Bernie Sanders, the rise of socialism in America. These are all ideas, or these are all techniques utilized to try to make society the center of the universe rather than the individual. The individual in these environments exists to support society rather than the other way around. California and New York are particularly sold on the idea that we should be a society-based country rather than an individual-based country. But I don't agree with that. I don't think the majority of Americans agree with that. Certainly, if you go by landmass, the majority of the United States physically doesn't agree with that. And it's about time we start looking at ways that we can separate this country such that we don't go to war with one another. We maintain our ability to defend ourselves as a nation, such that we stay a nation. I think it's important we do so, but such that we also all have our individual rights maintained however we want that done, whether that is with a society-based state or as an individually based state. With that in mind, I think that it's time that we start looking at the concepts of federalism. The concept of federalism is originally framed within the Constitution. With the Constitution, the way the Constitution was originally written, it was written not with one nation that had 50 separate parts, but rather 50 separate nations that had several combined interests. The states were considered generally sovereign, and they got together in 1789 and actually in 1787 they wrote the Constitution, and then it was ratified in 1789. And what the Constitution said is, look, there are specific things that we want the federal government to do. Everything else is up to either the states or the individual. If California wants to be a communist state or wants to have socialized health care or whatever it is California wants to do, I'm in Michigan. That's absolutely none of my business. I don't care what California does, but don't make Michigan do it. More importantly, don't charge me to do it. If you want to tax the people of California to pay for socialized health care in California, knock yourself out. If Michigan wants to do the same, Michigan can. It's got nothing to do with California, nothing to do with New York, nothing to do with Indiana. Each state can do whatever it wants other than those things that are specifically given the purview of the federal government. The 10th Amendment actually makes that very, very clear. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, lists all of the powers of the Constitution, of the federal government under the Constitution. I'm not going to get into specifically what those are here. I just want to say that, guys, if you want to be a communist country, vote in your state elections to try to make your state a communist country, and stop telling me I have to be in a communist country as well. Each state should have the right to run that country however they see fit, as long as the state government does not violate the Bill of Rights against its own individuals. Beyond that, the states can do pretty much whatever they want. So we really do need to break up into separate entities in terms of how the culture of a particular state is run, in terms of how the economy of a particular state is run. And we need to allow the country to break up into 50 separate experiments. The idea being that you have to compete for people. People can move freely between states. So if what is working in some states seems to be If certain things are working better in some states than others, people will tend to move to those states where things work the best. And in the quest for more people, more tax dollars, and what have you, states will kind of over time be forced to migrate toward whatever it is that seems to work. That was the concept the country was based on. It allows, and that is what we should continue to do. Another cool thing about federalism is that it encourages growth. And by growth, I don't mean economic growth, I mean growth in the country as a whole. Greece, for example, is in a terrible hole. Italy is not very far behind them. England is looking for a way out of the European Union. There are many countries in this world that would do that would benefit a great deal through statehood. Puerto Rico, as a territory of the United States, has been talking about statehood for a very long time. But you don't have to be a territory of the United States to apply for statehood. Any country can apply for statehood anytime they want, or any bloc within a country can apply for statehood anytime they want. It's not a guarantee that they'll get statehood, but they can vote and ask for it. And there are parameters within the Constitution that would allow them to join the United States. In the case of Greece, what a wonderful way to get out from under the debt they have with the European Union and kind of start fresh. They would have to follow the Constitution in regards to the things that the federal government is supposed to do. They'd have to pay federal tax dollars. They'd no longer be able to cheat quite as much on their tax dollars, since the United States government would then be enforcing taxes within Greece. But that's a possible way for Greece to get out from under the European Union. One of the Greece people would be far more open to considering, if they did not have to stop being Greece, to become a state within the United States. If we would allow them to maintain their cultural and economic diversity, their cultural and economic uniqueness, to allow them to stay Greece, then we have an argument with them. As is, I can't see Greece becoming a part of the United States because our federal government would be dictating far too much to Greece regarding how they should run their country. Just as the federal government today is far too involved in the matters of every one of the individual states. So I think that it's time that we start looking at that. It's time that we start saying that we do have very different ideas on how this country needs to be run. California does not agree with Michigan. Michigan does not agree with New York. Indiana does not agree with Michigan, New York, or California. Some states are doing very, very well. Some states are doing very, very poorly. How they're doing well and poorly depends on the different states that you look at. But we, the people, should have a right to decide how we want to live our lives. There are certain roles that need to be done at the federal level, but there are a great many things that should be done and could be done better at the state level. The federal government needs to get out of the way and allow that to happen. And then we, the people, can vote within our states for whatever we think is the right way to run that state. And if we don't like the way that the people within our state decide to run the state we live in, we all have the right to vote with our feet and move to whatever state does operate in the way that we think it should. So that's my piece for today. Again, if you like this content, let me know. If you don't like this content, let me know. Shoot me a like. Let me know what you think. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.